Hello, and welcome to Indie Encounter. My name is Sandra Laraine Coleman. The mission of our show is to give independent performers and artists access to as wide an audience as possible, and to give you, our viewers, a window into their art, their artistic process, and why they have chosen their particular avenue to connect with the world. All art is about communication and connection. Let's meet today's indie artist, Jaha Zainabu. Jaha, welcome. Welcome to Indie Encounter. How are you?
Thank you. I am fine. I'm blessed. I'm happy. I'm breathing.
That's good. Those are all positive attributes to have on such a wonderful day.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you, how did you decide or figure out or get into the artistry of poetry?
That's always a hard question. Like, it's a hard question, and it's an easy question. It was just, that's who I am. I mean, not just poetry. I'm a storyteller. So I tell stories with words. I tell stories with paint, with pictures.
Wow.
And that's what keeps showing up in my life. When I was a little girl, that was my escape. It wasn't so much poetry, but it was more making up stories. And then growing up, that's the kind of literature I like to read.
Right.
I was in love with Nikki Giovanni, and
Yes.
So it was just easy. And then I noticed, like, different jobs that I would have, I would still show up as poet.
Right.
Everybody, they slacks and stuff, and I would still show up like
creative in your attire, and because everything, usually artists, you can tell they're artists because everything about them says creativity. And I know that you have like paintings and you do photography. Now, what is your inspiration for like any medium that you choose?
The story in it. I mean, I just look for the story in life. I live in Atlanta now, and I'm from California, but I live in Atlanta now. And so I'm here. I've been in California for the summer, and I've been on the bus a lot.
Right.
And let me tell you, there is no better place to find a story than on the buses in LA. And I look for the story. I mean, and I guess whatever you're looking for shows up in your life.
Right.
And so I always get a good laugh. I get a good cry wherever I am.
Right.
And I always have my camera with me. I always have my pen with me.
Right.
And that's what I'm looking for.
The story.
The story, and it doesn't have to be pretty.
Right. Right.
Like even in my photography, I'm not fashion photographer.
Right.
I tell a story. I'm a real life, I'm a real life picture taker.
Right.
Like, what is the story and what you're expressing right now. So that's the only inspiration. Like, I don't really like the contrived, the poses.
Right.
In anything.
Right.
Even in my poetry.
Right.
The best poetry, and I've gotten my best gigs from when I have completely messed up.
Wow.
Yes. Like, completely, like, smashed it. And can I tell a story about that?
Of course.
So when it was years ago, probably almost 8 years ago, and I was up for this. Tour, and they had selected almost everybody, to be on this bus, and it was down to me and another poet. And she's so fabulous that I can say her name. It's Thea Monnier.
Wow.
So everything is going through my head. Like, okay, if it's between me and Thea got it. Oh man, she's younger, she's cuter. You know what I mean? I'm going through all of my, my woman insecurities or whatever. Right. And so there was one night that I guess that was supposed to decide it. Like, okay, we don't know who. Everybody's filled, so it's Jaha or Thea. Those are the last spot on the bus. Who's gonna get it? And so Thea goes up, and the producers are there. Everybody's there. Thea goes up, and she's flawless, as she always is. I mean, she's gorgeous. She's incredibly talented. I'm bigging you up, Thea, so you better. But she's talented. She's gorgeous, and and it was just flawless. And so I get up, I think that somebody else goes up, and then it's me. And I feel confident. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a piece. I'm sure, I'm going to do my money piece. And, right?
Wow.
And in the middle of the place, I was like, wow. So I just started talking, and, I poeted it my way through it. And so afterwards, I go to the producer, and I was like, you know what? Hey, thank you for even considering me.
Right.
Maybe if you're doing something in the future,
Right.
And that night he told me, I just want to just unofficially let you know that you got it. And I was like, were you here? Did you step out and go to the bathroom? Were you in the room?
Right.
And he said, no, he said, on this tour, you guys are going to be doing so many shows and so much work that you're going to mess up. And we want to see how you handle yourself.
You have to think on your feet.
Yeah, how you
Think
handle
fast.
yourself when you mess up.
Right.
And he was like, and you were amazing. And I learned something through that. I learned, how to pray, really. So the prayer is not so much, oh, God, let me do this perfectly,
Right.
It's more just let the story be told.
Right. Let it be what it is.
Let it be what it is.
Because it's going to be what it's going to be.
It is.
We can't control it.
It is. And I've tried to hide it, and it shows anyway.
Exactly. But it's good because it shows that you're human and that we all make mistakes and that nobody's perfect and that even though we're artists, we have 2 legs, 2 arms, and just like everybody else, and we go through the same ups and downs and changes. It doesn't matter if you're on Wall Street or in Leimert Park.
Yeah.
So now when you were younger telling stories, was it more for the purpose of family or entertaining yourself or your toys, because like dolls and, we like the...
Gosh, no, it was more for the audience I knew I was going to have.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just, and I remember being little, practice signing my name. Like how many, did I want it all curly-cued?
Right.
Did I want to print? Because I knew that I was going to be signing my name.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
And I'm not signing my name as much as I want to be signed by Abe, or as much as, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, it's going to be on, it's going to be what? It's going to be on. But I knew that I was going to be telling stories, and I knew that I was going to be in front of a crowd. I just always knew that. Maybe not like, superstar famous or whatever, but I knew that I always had this vision. I always knew that I would be telling stories somehow.
And you do. You tell some wonderful stories.
Thank you.
And before we get into more interview, I would love to hear at least one.
Story, poem, what?
I'm going to let you decide.
Okay, since the show is called Woman Talk, I'm going to do a poem about women.
Okay.
Man, I haven't done this in a while, and I don't even have it written down. So if I forget, then y'all charge it to the game, okay? God holds the hearts of women in a special place, I feel. The benevolent eye that watches the sparrow watches us, I know. Still the conversations of victim, defeat, and not enough show up. Harmoniously, in whispers, often, and today. And we understand as if understanding were cure through long work shifts, sore feet, and bills due, through birthdays and school plays, and we are hopeful inside closets where we cry, and on lawn chairs where we laugh about the nothing. See, we know we are enough. Still, we are big girls longing jump rope and recess, tetherball and gossip. We are words and rainbows. We are rivers and results. And I speak these words of power and of freedom. At least I hope that's how they land. But still, we get tired just a bit. We get cynical and righteous. My life is for the world, just a bit. And I stand in front of my mirror, full breasts, hips that carry my son, a belly that rested his head, and still the not enough shows up. And sometimes I listen, but then sometimes I don't. And that's just my poem to myself for whatever it is we're going through. Sometimes we just can't afford to listen to that voice in our head that is not our friend.
Right.
That says you can't do it, you blah, 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 you blah, blah, blah,
Right.
you blah, blah,
you're
blah.
You're too this, you're too that. And
Right.
not appreciating ourselves.
Not appreciating ourselves. And sometimes we just have to write letters to it. Dear voice in my head that is telling me that I can't do it. I'm real and you're not.
Exactly. And that is so powerful. And so with your art and empowering not only yourself, but the people who hear you, because I heard every word you said and I could relate to every word you said. And so many times as women, maybe we forget like some of the things that we had to go through to get us here. But then when like that little voice, because it's been talking to us since we were born.
Before.
Exactly.
It talked to our mothers. It talked to our grandmothers.
Exactly. And so here we are, find ourselves able to write about our experiences that someone else may benefit, and it's a great way to give advice. So how do you feel about being like in the public eye as far as like what you impart to other people?
I think my message right now in this stage, I'll be in, I guess, a couple weeks, I'll be 41. So my message now is more really, really truth telling on myself, because that's what I needed. At 18, I needed the older sisters to like real talk me and to tell me like what they were like, what mistakes did you really make, what really happened with you, because if I act like my whole life was perfect or I did everything right, that's really going to make this 18-year-old sister like, man, I'm really a mess up, I'll never. But that's how we pull them up by like, look, this is what I did, this is what I, and really if you really listen to a poet, we're telling on ourselves anyway, we just keep putting somebody else's name on it. I had a real quick poem that I said, I wrote a poem and I said, I'll never believe a poet telling a story about somebody else.
Exactly.
Even if you are wrong, it is safer to believe she is talking about her man, her, she's talking about herself.
Exactly.
And I did it, like, well, I don't want them to know this about me.
Right.
So, so you stand in front of your big crowd and you're like, okay, this happened to my friend. And then she,
Yeah.
But it just puts up a wall of that wall that disconnects me with my audience, or me with that one girl in my audience that her man broke up with her too, or you know what I mean, this happened too, or this happened too, or
Right.
And she might need to know that it's not just her.
Right. Absolutely. And so now that we've talked about all, well, maybe not all the aspects of Jaha, because you're a mom as well.
Yep.
And so you have a beautiful son.
Thank you. Hi, Urias.
So tell us a little bit about balancing the art, the motherhood, the 9 to 5, if just balancing your life, period.
I mean, it is a balance. It is a balance. My son is wonderful, well adjusted. My son grew up in green rooms, sitting out, be quiet, be still, while I was doing poetry somewhere. And now he's amazing. We were at, I remember the Red Tea.
Oh, okay.
We were at, I did a show, where was I? I did a show at a friend of mine's house named George. I did a show at George's house. And George is amazing with food. And he made this tea and out of vegetables and water. I mean, it was amazing. And it was beautifully presented. And so my son stood in front, my son is 12, he'll be 13 soon. So he stood in front of this picture of tea and he said, Mom, all of your friends who are poets remind me of this red tea. And so, I didn't go further with it. He's a storyteller too.
Right.
And so I just thought that was beautifully, it was very poetic. And so we were out somewhere and we saw a friend of mine, and when he saw her, he said, Mom, is she one? And I said, one being a poet.
Right.
I said, He said, yeah, because I can sense the red tea on her.
Wow.
And, keep sensing the red tea.
Exactly.
So I love that. And I'm in a new space. I'm in a new space of being mom. My son, you know, he's coming into his teen years, and that's a rites of passage for me too.
Right.
You know, and he is in. Whenever you have a child, having a child is having your whole inside, your heart and everything live outside of you.
Right.
That's having a child.
Yes.
You know, and so my heart is living outside of me.
Yes, and I understand that totally. But you are doing a wonderful job and not letting it show that you know your heart is living outside, because you know you have a wonderful relationship with your son.
I do.
And then you have your mom, your sister, your niece.
The whole, you know, a whole community. You know, I would be a fool and a complete hypocrite to like, oh yes, I'm getting my mommy on, I'm doing it all by myself, because I'm not.
Right.
And truthfully, no mother is. I mean, we are. My son's father is amazing, you know, and his family, and you know, so I have that support. And you know, my son is in Bakersfield right now, and he is like adjusting to like the world of Bakersfield.
Right.
You know, with the cows, and you know, and doing time with his daddy.
Right.
And you know. And loving his mommy and stepmommy and new sister, and you know, it's all family. And truthfully, you can't have enough people loving your son, loving your kids.
Right.
You know, so in every, you know, all adults are welcome who are loving, and I know who is not.
Right.
You know, loving my kid. All teachers, all principals, welcome.
Right, and then you can't have enough people loving you too.
Yeah.
You know?
But you know how mommies are. I'm gonna get my love.
Right.
I'm gonna make sure that this one is taken care of right here, and he is. You know, he is, and so just he's getting his karate and chess and everything else.
And his photography, because
and
he
his
works with you sometimes.
He worked with me this summer, and he's great. And you know, it's funny because all the pictures that I have of me that I like, he took.
Wow. So he has a good eye.
He has a great eye.
Yeah. I wonder where he got that from.
I don't know.
So tell us about, like, you have books, you have products and CDs, and so tell us a little bit about.
I have 2 books. Actually, I've written 7 books.
Wow.
And only 2 are published. The third is coming this year. The third is a book of stories, which it's my favorite project. It's called Women in the Village Go Round and Round. It's my favorite project. But I have a book, The Corners of My Shaping. And The Corners of My Shaping it's funny because I wrote, that's my second book, and The Corners of My Shaping is really a collection of journal entries, some musings that I just, and that one did very well. I mean, I shouldn't say I was surprised, but I was for what it was.
Right.
But it was really just some journal entries and stuff like that. So I love that. And then my first one was The Science of Chocolate Milk Making. And I loved, I mean, I remember toiling through the poems in The Science of Chocolate Milk Making. Just like, I remember sweating over the words and sweating over, and a good sweat, like a good sweat. Like, this doesn't sound right, or this doesn't go here, or this isn't right. I remember that and the energy that I put into it. And, you know, I love all my babies.
Exactly.
I love all my babies.
Exactly.
You know, the CDs right now, the CDs that I'm selling right now are CDs of my stories from Women in the Village.
Okay.
My first CD was called Journey, and
I love that one.
And you know, it's funny because I got to get off it because people really like that CD, and I don't sell it at all anymore.
Really?
No, I don't.
It's a wonderful project. You should think about
I think one of the reasons I just don't, it just doesn't represent where I am right now.
Okay.
I perform in a lot of churches and a lot of schools right now. So some of the language just doesn't fit. And there was a time in my, you know, early poetic career where I would stand on stage and say anything I wanted to.
Right.
And, you know, and it's not who I am right now.
Right.
The message is, you know, the message in all the poems is strong and sincere and definitely who I was. But and when I go back and I listen to it, it was where I was, and there's so much struggle. And,
Yeah.
it's a heavy CD. Like, it's so much struggle. Like, oh,
Yeah.
man,
Right.
But I love it,
Right.
But and I was so much struggle.
Right. Right.
And, and it takes, I'm in a different space.
Right.
I'm in love, I'm in light, I'm in beauty, I'm in comfort, I'm in,
Right.
I'm cool.
Right.
Like, it's not all perfect, but I'm cool.
Right. Right. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you this. The space that you're in right now, because I have one that I really love, and it's about the blue jeans.
Okay.
But the space that you're in right now.
I still do that because people always request jeans.
Because I love it. I watched it on YouTube.
Did you? Oh, my
yes,
God.
So,
I did that, I think, at my kitchen table. Is that the one?
I think so, yes. It was wonderful. And you were
you.
just like sitting there, and it was just like you were having a conversation with yourself about these jeans. So can we hear that one?
Yeah, can I read it? Because
of course. That's a wonderful piece.
Thank you. I used to do jeans. I couldn't go I would have my set planned to the to the hilt, and jeans were nowhere on there. And you would be like, no,
you gotta do.
That's what you're doing today is jeans.
Yeah, because that's like signature for you.
It is.
Yes.
There comes a point in a woman's life when we stop to ponder yesterday, the transformation from then until now, the people we've met and been along the way. And the prompt of the musing comes in an array of fashion. An old photograph, a familiar scent, the recent exodus of a lover whose footprints led us to the father whose humanity broke our hearts first. Spring cleaning is when it happens to me, when finally I give those favorite pair of jeans fashionably faded perfectly at the knee to the local Goodwill, Salvation Army, or my favorite niece. You see, this time I will not convince myself that one day they will fit again, or make my butt look quite the same again, or that I will suffer to commute myself to the woman bygone again. Now these jeans will not ever kiss these lips or hug these cheeks again. And the beauty finally is that I don't want them anymore. They are not quite big enough to hold the woman I am today. You see, these jeans belong to a girl whose favorite song had more to do with how she could move to the bass than what she could learn from the lyrics. And she wore them well, model thin with flawless skin, and the insecurity of 1,000 impotent men. A good girl who compromised until sacrifice became her addiction. I am not so flexible. You see, these were her jeans, and they don't quite fit me, not anymore.
Wow.
And that's jeans. I did that piece, and then I had on some jeans, and I was in Leimert Park one day, and this guy came up to me and said, I thought you didn't wear jeans no more. I was like, no, it wasn't never mind.
Exactly. See, he didn't get it.
It wasn't nothing about jeans.
Right. It's about the growth, and the maturity and all of that.
And loving who you are right now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, and I talk to a lot of women, and we have like these pictures of ourselves from 10, 20, 25 years ago.
Right.
And yes, that's beautiful, but where is your acceptance of who you are today?
Right
Where's your
now.
today picture?
Right.
I just can't live my life fighting to be 25 again.
Right. And you're not supposed to fight to be 25.
I already did 25.
Exactly.
And baby, when I did 25, I did 25 to the hilt. I did 25.
That's right.
When I was 16, I did 16. When I was 21, I did 21.
Right.
And now I'm doing 40.
Right. Absolutely. So it's been such a wonderful journey to be able to talk to you, like the name of your first CD, because I love that one. But I want to thank you so much for coming and blessing the audience, blessing the studio, blessing me. And the more, we talk, we don't get to talk as much as I would like, but we do talk.
We don't have to.
We don't.
Because we always talking.
I was just getting ready to say, because we here, because we artists, because we women, and we put away those jeans, all of that. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I want to, anytime, I want to have you back. I know you're back and forth, but as soon as both of our schedules permit, I would love to have you back. And again, tell us your website. And
my website is jahazainabu.com. JahaZainabu.com. You can check me out on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Baby.
And Google her.
Google me.
Yes.
Google me. I always wanted to say that.
I know that's right. Thanks again to Jaha Zainabu. This has been Indie Encounter, a journey into the world of the independent creators of art and artistic communication. I want to thank today's guest, Jaha Zainabu, for sharing her vision and poetry with us. If you want to find out more about today's guest, check her out on the web by typing her name into your Google browser. For more about the show, check out our website here at PasadenaCommunityNetwork.com and select the Arroyo channel. Thanks to our director, Lilia F. Gaspar, and crew for making the show possible. Thanks to all of you. We hope to see you here again when we embark on another Indie Encounter. And so we like